It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of Where You Live with Gene and Tony. I'm Gene Sullivan.
And I'm Tony Crockett.
And we are going to be talking just shortly about the importance of reserve funds for a homeowners association. There's some changes with the state law, and we've got a specialist who's going to be talking to us here shortly. But we'd sure love to hear from you folks today as well.
Yes, please call us with your questions and comments. 651-289-4488.
Now, we really ran out of time towards that last segment here.
Yeah.
We're talking about insurance.
Yeah.
And if I can, Tony, there's a story that I've got to tell about an insurance thing that took place with someone in a homeowners association.
Okay.
And he was an attorney. So we have both those things going for us here in the story. And apparently this is a true story. There is an attorney who bought some very expensive cigars. And so
I can see why this story caught your attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
it's about cigars.
And so he went ahead, purchased them, and then he went to the insurance company and he had them insured. Okay.
They were. How much were this collection? How much was
probably
it worth?
like $15,000.
Holy
I mean,
cow.
these.
I didn't even know you could buy enough cigars to be worth $15,000.
Well, it depends on how old they are. You know, like for example, a few years ago, Sotheby's had a few years, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they had
An auction?
An auction of some of the personal effects of President Kennedy. And one of those things was a humidor. His humidor, which still had cigars.
Oh, my gosh.
And now, of course, these cigars, which were Cuban cigars, pre-embargo Cuban cigars, before the story was before the Bay of Pigs, he went and sent some people out, grabbed about 4,000 cigars, brought
before
them.
he invaded Cuba.
Oh,
my God.
And then he was set.
Okay.
But anyway, so
I'm glad he was set.
So you had this humidor full of Cuban cigars. That alone went for over $500,000. Yeah.
Wow.
So for people that are collectors, the 15,000. Yeah, you can
drop
spend
in the
that.
bucket. Okay.
So anyway, but this guy ended up getting insurance for them.
Okay.
But then he proceeded to enjoy each and every one of them.
Okay. All right. Sure.
And afterwards, being kind of the in this case the jerk attorney that he was, he ended up then applying for an insurance claim with the insurance company, stating that there was a number of small fires that ended up taking place that ended up
destroying his
collection.
Oh my! This lawyers, are you listening? This is what gives you a bad name.
Yeah, and so you think, is anybody going to take him seriously? Well, anyway, the insurance company
filed the claim.
He filed the claim.
Then
Insurance
he
company
lost them in a series of small fires.
Insurance company said, "No way, we're not going to let we're not going to let this happen."
Yeah.
The insurance. This guy took the insurance company to court, and he won because he stated that the insurance policy indeed stated that this would be insured in case of fire.
Yeah.
And the judge said there was nothing that stipulated what was a good, acceptable fire and what was an unacceptable fire. He received $15,000.
Oh, my God.
The insurance company, though, not to be outdone, waited until this guy cashed the $15,000 check.
Yeah.
Then they turned around and they had him arrested for 24 counts of arson.
Yeah.
because
They charged him with 24 counts of arson.
well, yes, if you insure your home and you burn it down and you want
Sure.
the insurance company to pay,
Sure, you're gonna be in criminal trouble.
And so now
Oh,
he
my
won the
gosh.
case, but he wasn't going to be outdone. The insurance company he ends up now having to spend 10 years in prison and
Oh,
paying
my
$24,000 in penalties. So
you know, that's
too
a
smart by
dangerous.
half.
There you go, exactly. And justice, I have to say, was done.
Yes, it was.
Oh,
But this was a fellow, and he did this on an HO6 policy
Oh,
that
my
he had.
gosh.
Well, anyway, we're going to be moving on and talking about reserve studies here now, and we're happy to have in with us now by phone Paul Brownlee, who's the Director of Business Development for Reserve Advisors. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Gene and Tony. How are you?
hi, Paul. We're good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Woke up this morning with a little bit of a sinus infection, so I apologize for my voice. But
You sound okay. You sound okay over the
Good.
phone. Hope you're not in too much pain.
no, I feel fine. I think it's just the lovely spring weather we're having.
Okay.
Yeah.
What we want to talk now, folks, about and have Paul with us on the phone is the importance of reserve funds. And, you know, a lot of times when people are thinking about selling their home and they're living in an association, people think about home staging, they think about remodeling, they think about the association making sure that those trees and shrubs are all in place and growing well and everything looks nice with the curb appeal, but they don't realize the importance of reserve funds in terms of that home being able to sell.
Saleability, yeah.
And so we wanted to talk to you today, Paul, about that and Paul, about some of the different things that have been taking place with the state legislature and how that applies with us here in Minnesota. But let's begin maybe by just having you take a moment because the listeners that we have on Where You Live are experienced homeowners in an association and some that are brand new. Can you tell folks who are brand new and living in an HOA, what are the reserve funds and how important are they to an association?
Sure, absolutely. Reserve studies are extremely important from the fact of, prioritizing for capital repairs and replacements for the future, really setting a roadmap for your association, and really, a board has a fiduciary responsibility to take care of their association and to plan for these capital repairs and replacements. So a reserve study is simply a 30-year financial projection that's going to help the board plan for those capital repairs and replacements.
Okay, back up one step, Paul. What are reserve funds and what are they for?
Reserve funds are for exactly what we state is for those capital repairs. You want to make sure that you have money set aside so that when, at some point in time, it's inevitable the roof is going to break down or any of the common elements are going to break down. So you need to have the money set aside in a reserve fund so that you can cover those expenses. Now, if you don't have that money set aside in the reserve fund, it's a direct shot out of the homeowner's pocket, which is a special assessment.
Sure.
So we're talking about the big ticket items, and that's good for people to know because sometimes when people will look at a reserve study, Paul, for example, and they'll say, well, here's something that the association should be responsible for. How come that isn't on the schedule? How come that isn't being considered? Well, that may be because it's under a certain dollar amount, or it may be something that's over that 30-year projection, which is what they're concentrating on, correct?
Yes, correct. Anything that's common to the association is going to be put into the reserve fund, and we're going to call that a component list. So when our engineers go out to an association, they usually review the declarations and the bylaws of the association to find out what they're going to be what the association needs to be reserving for.
Okay.
And some items are long-lived, so they would be put into the reserve fund because they extend past that 30-year time frame, and it's not going to be on that immediate schedule.
Okay.
Now, with Reserve Advisors, the company you're with, how many reserve studies will you guys do in a year?
Oh, thousands of reserve studies in a year.
Wow.
We have offices all across the United States. We do work in all 50 states. In fact, here's a good one for you. We just sold a job in Madagascar.
Oh, my.
So we do everything from the Trump Towers down in Florida to small town home associations to a Four Seasons resort in Madagascar.
Wow.
So we're going all over the place.
You're global.
And people are really, yes.
Okay. Well,
Fantastic.
So since you do that many and in all 50 states, maybe you can help answer this question. And that is, in your estimation, what percent of all homeowner associations do you think are setting money aside for their reserves?
That's a very small portion. Maybe 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10
Wow.
are going to. And here's the other thing is 8 out of 10, after we do the reserve study, 8 out of 10 associations are generally underfunded.
So about 50% of associations are setting money aside in a savings, long-term savings account, but only 8 out of 10?
8 out of 10 are actually, after we do the reserve study,
Are underfunded.
we take a look at all the financials. They're actually underfunded.
Wow.
Well, I can see that because when I stop and think about a number of associations that we work with, Paul, it's one thing to get someone to say we agree that we need to have one done, and that just having one done is just the first step because it helps identify their roadmap where they need to go, but them having the discipline to do that or the ability to do that, sometimes that can be very, very tricky because sometimes when you guys get done with a reserve study, the end result of what someone needs to do from that point moving forward can be pretty large.
Yes. Sometimes if every association is different, and people sometimes ask me, I'll come to a board meeting, and after being at the association for just an hour, they'll say, "Okay, how do you think we're going to be based on your time here?" And I'll say, "Well, I can't really give you that answer right now because I haven't taken a look at your financials, and I haven't looked at the association in depth and what kind of state or condition the components are in." Because every association is different, but yes, you're right. If an association hasn't had a reserve study done, and they were built in the the early 70s or 60s, they may have some serious catching up to do.
Sure.
In their reserve fund.
Sure. Now, talk to us about the legislation in 2010 regarding reserve funding in homeowner associations. What are the new requirements?
Sure. I have it kind of sitting here in front of me listed with the Kiowa. Some new things that are coming up are an annual report. Budget shall be presented by the association. One of the sections of this report or budget is a statement of the association's total replacement reserves and the list component that are being reserved for. It is not required to provide a breakdown of dollars or percentages per component.
Okay.
Excuse me, Paul. We've got. It looks like I'm getting the message here that we've got to take a break right now. But when, if you wouldn't mind holding on, let's talk about and pick up on the next segment here what some of the changes are from the last year's session with the state legislature on what will be required with reserve funding for homeowner associations. We'll take a break now. You're listening to Where You Live on AM 1280 The Patriot.